Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'm discussing Disney's 2002 animated classic space adventure, Treasure Planet. Their 43rd such classic as directed by John Musker and Ron Clements, and as adapted from the Robert Louis Stevenson's 1983 classic adventure novel, Treasure Island. So we follow one Jim Hawkins, as voiced by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a young teen full of thoughts of adventure, but always ending up on the wrong side of the law. Captain Kirk, anyone? His mother, Sarah, as voiced by Laurie Metcalf, struggles against Jim's rebellious behaviour after having to raise him on her own and run their families in after Jim's father left them both on their own many years ago. One night, however, a mysterious stranger by the name of Billy Bones, as voiced by Patrick McGoohan, crash lands outside of their cafe, carrying with him a strange orb, which turns out to be none other than the map to the fabled Treasure Planet, where riches beyond any of the likes you've ever seen lie in wait. Dr. Delbert Doppler, as voiced by David Hyde Pierce, one of the family's friends and loyal customers, sees this as an excellent opportunity to mount an expedition and bring Jim along for the adventure of a lifetime, and perhaps straighten him out at the same time. However, they soon learn that they are not the only ones in search of the long-lost treasure, and soon they are up against a band of formidable pirates who will stop at nothing to get their hands on the treasure's troves for themselves. So, this all told is a visually striking movie. For 2002, it's impressive. It's a set piece, and the infusion of Stevenson's classic story with science fiction and space exploration makes for some very Jules Verne-esque cinematography, and something that holds some fantastic old-school adventure with a kind of seafaring, swashbuckling vibe mixed with a futuristic twist. But for me, as much as the visuals hold up, the actual framework of the movie, the pacing, the characters, dialogue, all seem fairly routine. For as much as this should have been a complete spectacle, it never really seems to offer the kind of anticipation or engagement, the atmosphere, that it really should. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a very charming movie and a true adventure nonetheless. I just kind of think the world of opportunity kind of created by this fantastic scope and universe, that they've built around us, and the kind of, this integration and melding of the old pirate lore, high seas, walk the plank-esque style against a more futuristic backdrop, being such a wondrous, and an inventive idea, and a great way to kind of bring the classic elements of the story into focus, whilst offering a different level and take on the relationships and journey beheld by those characters in the movie. The overall result feels a little flat given all of that, and drawn out right until the near kind of closing end act, which as a result does make the film kind of seem longer than its 95-minute runtime. Now, I've always had a soft spot for the movie. This and, what's the other one? Atlantis. Yes, Atlantis. And the fact that, it steps outside of Disney's comfort zone, like many Disney films of around that same time, the curiosity pieces, it's certainly worthy of appreciation on that point alone. It certainly tries. It tries to be a bit rebellious against that usual mould. But you can tell it fights this reluctantly against a number of elements that try and keep the movie in its place. Some elements work, some not so much. It's certainly an adventurous idea, and it's got a plucky attitude and lots of promise. But it tries to relate to its audience in ways which don't really gel all that well. Sometimes even cringy, and having, in my opinion, a number of kind of surplus characters and needless relationships that seem more tagged on for expectation than substance. Now, the relationship that develops between Jim and John Silver, as voiced by Brian Murray, a cyborg and chef who Jim befriends along the voyage, feels genuine and heartfelt, It is this kind of centerpiece of the movie, all told, and brings some much needed contrast and character development. But the rest of the characters just seem needlessly placed and very much either underused or just overcooked. Shout out does go to Little Morph, though, as voiced by Dane Davis, a shape-shifting creature who follows John Silver and also befriends Jim. A meme before there was such a thing. And this plays to the more kind of cutesy-cute aspects of the movie, which, whilst fun enough, I feel perhaps this should have been a bit more cutthroat, you know? But hence, the mismatch of styles between the usual Disney mould and them trying to kind of break out of this box a little with something of a unique space adventure. It tries to be cute, it tries to be serious, and indeed it wants us to take it seriously. It just doesn't all mesh together as I think perhaps they hoped it would. In all, but the visuals and its interpretation of the classic tale, it's distinctly average in the main. It's much more of an adventurous idea in principle that's caught somewhere between being a kid's Saturday morning cartoon and a more serious swashbuckling pirate adventure, never really committing in full to either. But it does have some absolutely inspiring animation and set pieces woven throughout. The depiction of space and the detail, you know, that they've gone into to kind of create this kind of visual backbone for the world is simply exquisite and really serves well to the time and devotion placed on this aspect of the film. It builds an impressive world, and that, to be honest, I did want to find out more about. We only get a snapshot here, which for the journey the movie sets us up upon, it's adequate, but the fact it does leave you wanting more certainly speaks for the creativity involved in engaging us in the depicted universe, at least. Certainly feels like there's more scope for much more of an amazing adventure to be had. Overall, as an impressively detailed and creatively constructed as the movie is, it does just feel drawn out. It doesn't quite feel like the galactic adventure that it perhaps should have been, or what I would have expected. But indeed, it certainly tries, and for the most part, it just feels adequate enough, you know? I think the idea is certainly ingenious enough and fairly sound. The execution of the designs and the integration of old-time pirate ships and Navy-style warships, although somewhat underused, were magnificent to behold and a fantastically quirky idea when set up upon, you know, as transport in space. Definitely a visually stunning concept and impressively used to convey the kind of the majestic and majesty and adventurous nature of space travel in itself. It's still a charming movie, a charming tale, in fact, that does try, and one for which I continue to have a soft spot for. A story of adventure, redemption, and the true treasure of family, loyalty, and friendship. But unfortunately, ultimately, it's a story that's kind of missing the energy needed to really make it amazing. And it surely had that potential. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having you here at SciFirst MovieTalk, and definitely love to have you back. Most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.